Ref, you weren't offside there. Hey, come on.
Earning £8 for 40 minutes work or 28 for an hour and a half may seem tempting, especially as the job involves healthy exercise in the open air. However, to do the job, you may need to prepare yourself for verbal or even physical abuse. Such is the life of a football referee. In October 2017, Warwickshire referee Craig Ward was left unconscious and bleeding after being headbutted by a player during a Sunday League game in Nuneaton. His attacker was sentenced to 4 months in prison, suspended for a year by Leamington magistrates. In April 2018, Cannock Chase-based referee Ross Hawkes decided to hang up his whistle after he was assaulted for the second time in his 20-year spell as a local league official. The 36-year-old was punched and kicked, leaving him with a cut eye and injuries to his legs and back. A case that gained national profile in 2016 was that of Manchester Sunday League referee Ryan Hampson, who was 17 when he claimed he was spat at, headbutted and punched numerous times during his 4 years as a referee. The abuse became so bad in 2017 that Mr Hampson called on amateur referees across the country to strike. Around 2,000 officials backed the campaign, which forced the Football Association in Manchester to take notice, and major changes are being considered. In 2016, the chairman of the Surrey Youth League, Graham Eakins, wrote to clubs to warn against the rise in abusive behaviour, saying he'd feared for the lives of officials. Over one weekend in Surrey in 2016, parents assaulted officials and even threatened to stab a referee. Holly Warmington, 19, said she stopped officiating games in the Kent Youth League after one parent poked her in the chest. "I just got to a point where it's becoming too much abuse and not enough reward," she said. In 2014, the FA released a report which said that almost 4,000 misconduct offences had been committed at youth level football by adults the previous year. And it's not only amateur referees who were targeted. In April 2018, a fan ran onto the pitch during the League One game between Rochdale and Oldham and attempted to attack referee Peter Banks, only to be thwarted by Oldham defender Anthony Gerrard. So who do local referees think pose the biggest threat when it comes to abuse?
99% of it is verbal abuse. A lot of player frustration, whether it's directed towards you, a teammate, someone running the line for you, but they see someone in black running around the football pitch and decide they're going to take it out on them. I'm lucky enough to only have been pushed or manhandled by a player once. I know people who have suffered a lot worse, so I've been quite lucky in that sense.
The adult games are easier to control because you can manage the players on the pitch and speak to them, and you've got the cards in your pocket to send them to the dressing room. Junior games, it's the adults on the sideline, the parents that you talk to them before and they're all nice and calm, but the minute you blow the whistle they just turn into animals and think they're at a professional game and they're shouting at the kids, and the referee really gets some stick sometimes.
I think more so the abuse is more from management and spectators rather than players. I think players on field is really good.
Following the escalation in referee abuse, the Football Association decided to step in and in 2008 launched a Respect campaign aimed at changing behaviour during football matches. The FA produced leaflets, flyers and a series of videos fronted by top actor Ray Winstone aimed at encouraging players, parents and managers to behave during grassroots football matches.
Open your eyes! My old woman can referee this campaign!
Listen to this muppet. Every week he does this, screaming and shouting at the ref.
Ref! That's a yellow card, ref! Card him! Yellow card him, ref! How are these kids supposed to learn the game if you don't know the game? He's an animal! Give him
Look at him, the ref. But he gives up his Saturday mornings to do this. Now, was it the right decision? It might have been, it might not have been. Who knows? We all make mistakes.
You mug!
Would you take this at work? Nah.
Okay, thank you.
No, don't thank me, thank you!
Just clear the playing area, please.
You ain't got a clue! Alright. Clown!
You see, Dad's trying to live out his own dreams through his son.
Get it! What's the matter with you? That's a suicidal boy!
Now, how's he supposed to learn
Rosie!
if he can't make his own mistakes?
Referee, you're not watching the game, mate! You're watching me! You ain't gonna see nothing here!
It's no wonder we're losing so many refs when they're having to put up with people like Jet the Biscuit here every week.
Come on, Steve! Hey! You're running about like a chicken with no egg! Liven it up!
And it's no wonder thousands of kids give up the game either. We carry on like this, we won't have a game left.
Ref! Ref?
However, there have been suggestions that the campaign's effectiveness wasn't actually as successful as hoped, with research in 2009 claiming around 7,000 referees a year quit the game because of verbal and physical abuse. In 2017, with incidents on the increase, the FA decided it was time to introduce tougher sanctions against players who abuse referees. These included players at grassroots level who assault a match official to receive a minimum 5-year ban, an 84-day ban and a £100 fine for any physical contact with a match official, verbal threats to incur a minimum 56-day ban or 6 matches and £50 fine. A call for referees to wear body cams is currently under consideration. The FA also confirmed 32 grassroots leagues in England would trial sin bins in the 2017-18 season. This involves players spending 10 minutes out of the game if they are shown a yellow card for dissent. So what can be done to support the thousands of referees who take charge of football matches across the UK each weekend?
Yeah, I think the leagues need to do more actually. They need to get involved at the younger age, bring the parents in for pre-season talks, tell them what is acceptable and unacceptable, and then they need to come along and supervise and manage some games where they see repeat offending teams. If referees are reporting them, they need to come down and take a look and then deal with the club and make the club take responsibility.
I think a lot of it is just the FA trying to clamp down on things like dissent. Dissent is the major one really, or your verbal abuse towards a match official. Whether it is something that they tried to push at the start of last season and this year, whether it's something they continue with, try to be a bit more forceful on it. But it's something that needs to start at the top of the game really. Players see your superstars, your Sanchez's, your Ibrahimovic getting away with coming to a referee and screaming in his face, then they're going to be like, that's all right, why can't I do it on a Sunday morning?
I think the respect campaign's better than it ever was, because the more you can emphasise to respect the referee and to get people to be aware of what the referee's trying to do, it's got to be a good thing. Even if it stops one person doing what they would have done without it, it's an improvement.
Ian Taylor is a former Premier League footballer who played at clubs including Aston Villa and Derby County. Each weekend he watches his son play grassroots football on a Saturday morning and says professional footballers have a huge influence on junior players.
A lot of people look at especially TV and see what goes on the television and take sort of the lead from that. I think a lot more can be done as far as parents is concerned and what they say to referees. And as far as the kids go, they look at what happens on the TV. So I think we have got to look at the professional side of the game big time.
So just saying that, can professional players set a better example?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been there, and you know, in the heat of the game and the passion that you show in the game, it is tough sometimes to curb your enthusiasm, but they do have to set an example, because as you can see, the kids today, they do take a lead from that.
So do you think the FA's respect campaign, the tougher sanctions they impose, do you think that does enough for referees?
I don't think so. I think it can be a lot tougher. I think they can give a bit more power to referees. I think, like we saw with Mr. Oliver the other night with Buffon, he did he was a bit overzealous with his protests, and he decided to send him off. And I think that's the way the game should go.
And just finally, what do you think can be done to protect referees from abuse?
There's not much. I think tougher legislation. I think tougher rules on fans and what they say, and players, like we saw the other night. Like I said, with the red card, that will help, and to be a bit more heavy-handed.
It has to be said that thousands of football matches this weekend will be played in a friendly environment where teams, parents and coaches comply with the FA's respect campaign. However, as this documentary has shown, a small number of referees will be verbally abused, physically abused and could even require hospital treatment.